The other day, I posted a blog about the experiences that some sisters had in a convent. And as people know, I'm very sensitive to how people experience religious life. I think it could be done better. I think we can improve. I think the whole experience in the church could be improved. But I'm also conscious that we all have character defects. We all fail. Now, these negative experiences of four girls, four women, we're not here talking about the sex abuse scandal that has riddled the church for decades. And so I'm not going to really go into the details of who they are and where it happened, but I want to give some tips. I want to give some advice, and I hope that this can help. Negative feedback isn't negative, you know? Sometimes it can be actually something very positive. I work in business, and many companies thrive on anonymous feedback, anonymous negative feedback. It's very valuable, actually, because if your company or your organization is trying to sell a product and grow its market and make a profit, you want to make sure your customers are looked after. And you look at Michael O'Leary, an Irish man that runs Ryanair. He gets tons of negative feedback. Some of it he just disregards. But if you were to say, look, your food is disgusting and it causes diarrhea or something like that, Ryanair would be pretty quick to pick up on that feedback and to change things, because they wanted to make a profit. As I'm saying, in the business world, a complaint is a gift. So something negative is actually a gift for your organization. And in the church, getting negative feedback is actually a gift, you know. And some of what was happening here was like human interactions that, people see one thing and then they take it one way when it wasn't really intended. And I'm not going to judge the situation, because it's very easy to tear down a convent. It's very easy to tear down an organization that's starting or that's building, and it's very difficult to build up, you know. And I don't want to cause any pain to anybody. And so my suggestion here is, don't view negative feedback as negative. View it as a positive. Over the last number of years, there's no organization that has received more negative feedback in the church than the Legionaries of Christ. And they'll even say that themselves, you know, the most despised congregation in the church. So, and they worked with the church at all levels, numerous visitations, rewriting their structures, changing their culture and all of this. And they get dozens of vocations every year. They have dozens of ordinations every year. When I say dozens, we're talking about 20, 30, which is not small in the church, for example. And so we shouldn't see this as negative. It actually helps, because we need to give Christ out to the world. How can we do this better? How can we help better? How can we embody Christ better? You know, this is our task. And every organization without exception, you can see it across the world, fails in some stage, when none of us are perfect. But we can use feedback to excel. It can be done. And that's my thoughts on it. And again, I love the church, as I said. And I just think we could do so much better sometimes. And that's my thoughts, my personal thoughts on it. And so, I think Catholics understand, the laity understand that, look, we will support what's needed. And but I suppose many parents want the best if their kids are going into religious life. You want them to excel. You want them to take off. And so I think it's good to know how we can better help people. And it's good to know the potholes that we mightn't be aware of. Personally, I find feedback given to me personally, when people correct me, I always find that very important. And I've learned that the lesson, you will grow a lot in your life if you're humble to take feedback. You will, because if we're so proud we can't take feedback, oh, you're doing things wrong. I mean, in business we have upward feedback all the time. People give us feedback. It's just the way business is. And it's very helpful. It's very, you grow with feedback. And so I think in the church, negative feedback should be viewed as something positive. We can grow from it, and we will grow from it. And that's my thoughts on it, because I don't want to get into the specifics of the religious and get into a whole discussion. But I just wanted to give this advice because I love the church, and I think we can do so much more, so much better. Because Christ wants to reach souls, He wants to transform souls, and so He needs us. He needs us to grow in holiness. He needs us to grow near to Him, to be in union with Him, and to go out. And Satan is trying to destroy this. He's trying to draw us away from Christ. And so that's my plea to the church. Don't view negative feedback as negative. Use it. You won't act on everything. You can say, well, they didn't like the rule, they didn't like our timetable, and they struggled with it. Oh, okay, we understand that, but that's our rule, that's our life, this is our how we operate. But other things they can work on. I mean, when I was in the Legionaries, I vividly remember, and this is my own example, vividly remember telling my superior, I feel very sick. I'm not well. And, the father at the time says, Robert, just man up, you be fine. Stick with the community schedule. Don't be worrying, you be okay. But I collapsed in my room. And after a while, when they realized I wasn't with the community, they came looking for me in my room. And where is Robert? And I was on the floor because I was really sick. And I had been asking for help. Now, did that father, and he's still a priest, did that father intentionally want to harm me? No, he made a bad judgment call. That's what he did. And he's not a bad person. And you learn the lessons, and this is where it is, and so organizations can use these experiences of their members to grow, to form, to progress, to move. Because if we don't, we stagnate, we become insular, we become defensive, we become depressed. We don't need to use these experiences in that way. They can be experiences of growth, and this is what the church, can use all of these experiences to grow, because our mission is to give Christ to the world, the good news to the world, the gospel to the world, to go out, because a lot of people are suffering outside. There's a lot of problems in families. There's a lot of people that could do with prayer, with help, with guidance, with spiritual direction, with friendship. And so we need to strengthen and use feedback to strengthen, to go out, to be part of that mission. And so that's my thought on it. And I give it with good faith and love for the church, not to tear down anybody, not to spread gossip or to detract or anything like that. This is just a message to say, look, we all can improve. Everybody can improve. The day we say we can't improve is the day we've stopped striving, we've stopped growing. There's a lot to be done. So the mission of the church is great, it's vast. So it's in that love, I want to give it to you. But I would ask one thing to this convent. Read Dom Dismas de Lassus' book on spiritual abuse. Not that I'm saying that this is what's happening. I can't judge the situation. But Dom Dismas de Lassus gives great insight into religious communities and into growth. Sometimes we focus very much on the mortification, the penance side, and Dom Dismas speaks of, okay, sometimes this can be a hindrance to your spiritual growth because your mind is tied up, or your mind is caught up in one thing, and God wants to transform us. So I would just mention that book because it's a very, very well done book in the church. And guys, let's not. Catholics want the church to renew, so we want to give you this feedback in love, and it's not a criticism. Because if we all get stuck in the criticism, we never move forward. How do we use it for the good? And negative feedback isn't always negative. It can be a positive. God bless you. Take care. Bye bye.